And a midweek mess for the Midwest to the Northeast. Some of these storms could pack a punch with damaging winds. We'll time them out just ahead. Reynolds.
There you go. And visitors at Yellow.
Flooding yesterday, it was coming down along 285 on the north side of town. Very heavy rainfall. And you can notice there were some flood alerts there in Houston, and also up into the Carolinas. Extremely heavy rainfall, and the same as we look into Virginia. So there were these pockets, and this is what we're going to see, and this is what we were expecting to see, are rainfall and then pockets of very heavy flooding rain. Moisture being pulled up from the Gulf of Mexico. And that red is indicating the juiciness of the atmosphere. Where you have red, I know you always look for a legend on a map, right? So I'm gonna be the legend for you. The red, that's an indication of very moist air, and the green is less moist, but it's still plenty in the atmosphere for some rain. So keep that in mind. Big dip in the jet stream, and that gives us energy in the atmosphere, so that helps kick off even more storms, and we will continue to see that linger, by the way, not only through the end of the week, but into the weekend and to next week as well. It's going right over some of the really dry places here into the south, extreme to severe drought. Notice the rainfall is going to be going right over that, so hopefully we'll get some help in the drought. Where we're getting, of course, the most rain, we don't need any of it. It's still coming down, though, into Louisiana and Texas. And you can see this huge drop, right? That's our big trough with all the energy that is going to continue to swing east. So not only do we have energy in the mid to upper levels, we also have it at the surface. And so with that boundary in place sticking around, that means more rain and more localized heavy flooding. Laurel Hill all the way to Wagram, that's where you are going to see the potential for flooding. Look over the past 12 hours. You were talking 5 to 8 inches of rain. So in a lot of instances, you're talking about a month's worth or more of rain in just a matter of a half of a day, which is huge and obviously is going to cause some flooding issues. Clouds and showers are streaming northbound here, anywhere from the Gulf all the way up into places like Little Rock, where there's another flash flood warning. And this is how the day is going to continue to progress, because with the daytime heating, you're just going to get more of that bubbling up of storms as we head throughout the afternoon. And I expect to see more of these flash flood warnings kind of dotting the landscape throughout the entire southeast. Lightning as well, so pay attention to that. If you do get that break in the rain and you head outside, remember, lightning can travel 10 miles or more. So that's where bolt out of the blue comes from. You're sitting there, everything looks fine, but if you hear any little thunder rumbling or you see lightning off in the distance, that means it's close enough for you to go indoors. And we will see it again as we head into our Thursday, more of the same areas getting drenched. And it's not going to stop there. So our flood threat obviously is a little bit heavier, where we've seen some of those abundant days of rainfall. You know, Reynolds, Houston's been running around 8 inches above average since Beryl, where we had double-digit rainfall.
Absolutely. And before the hurricane season,
we're going to talk you through and take you through the forecast here in the Midwest and the Northeast. Remember, we have that big trough that is really kind of swinging through and giving us plenty of energy to kick off some wind, even some hail reports coming in across the Great Lakes for us. And that's where we are seeing, you know, a lot of moisture that's been pulled north, some of those milder temperatures. We've been about average there. We will see warmer air coming in, but there's that moisture again coming up the I-95 corridor. There's your big disturbance swinging on through. So we still have to deal with this for the next couple of days. But by Friday, things are going to be much, much better. Look at that dropping in. You can see it just beautifully in that counterclockwise spin right there. You see that energy pulling up all that moisture and some wind energy into the northeast. That means, again, scattered storms. Now, you can see this doesn't look like a huge severe outbreak, but as we've showed you, you don't need loads of severe weather in order to have trees falling on your house, people dying, flooding happening. And that's why I think these days are some of the most dangerous, because people think, oh, it's just a smattering of storms. It's not a big deal. We don't have to really worry about it. But you do. So here's that energy coming in. We also have a surface feature kicking off the clouds and the showers. Thunderstorms will rumble through and get worse as we head throughout the day and get more of that daytime heating. Everything will really kind of spot the map around that 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock hour. Remember, that sun doesn't set this day and age until it feels like 10 o'clock at night for those of us who have to go to bed early. I know if you're an early, bedtime person, you're feeling it too, but everyone else is loving it that they can stay out till really late in the day. Thursday, we're still dealing with it, but Friday, you will see improving conditions. The Mid-Atlantic tomorrow, from D.C. to Baltimore up into Philadelphia, we could see some of those stronger thunderstorms and that potential for flooding with those heavier downpours. But there it is. Look how beautiful beautiful our forecast is as we head into our Friday. But before we get to that, Jordan, we will see a couple inches of rain.
Yeah.
Suspects. I was like, what? No way. They are not giving me anything today. Last week, they were all up in my, or when was that? Friday. You guys were all in my business. Now they're just like, we don't care about you, Steph. No worries. I'll just entertain myself.
We do.
Here's the big drop. No, you
I'm
don't.
just
No, you
tired.
don't. No,
I'm
you
just
don't.
sleepy
No,
this
you don't.
morning.
Just a little
You even
subdued.
said yesterday how much you loved the interaction last week.
I do.
I try to engage you guys.
You know what I love this morning?
And you leave me hanging.
I would love to go back to bed is what I love this morning. Okay, I'm tired.
All right. Let's have a look at our chart. Fine, I'll leave you alone, Jordan, then. You can take a little nap in between segments. Here's our big system coming through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. And we do have that threat for thunderstorms today. They're not going to be super widespread, but as we saw yesterday, we could get flooding and tremendous flooding in some of these localized systems. We could get some gusty winds, and you could get trees to come down, but it's all very localized. So overall, we can't be like, okay, this huge severe weather outbreak, but if one of those trees hits your house, then it is a serious situation. Boundary giving us all this mess into the Northeast, storms in the Great Lakes, and we will see everything rotate through, not only through the day today, but as we head into tomorrow as well. Clouds and showers obviously get a little more intense as we head throughout the day and get that max heating of the day. It is going to wash out by the time we get into our Friday, so only a couple more days of this type of weather. But look at the clearing Thursday evening from Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, over towards Buffalo, looking much, much better as we get into our weekend. And the whole weekend actually is going to be beautiful in the Northeast. But Philly, Wilmington, Baltimore, D.C., not only could we get storms and flooding Thursday and Friday morning, but travel could be messed up from this. And we're trying so hard to get that travel back on schedule. There's your Friday forecast and really your whole weekend forecast. Coming up on America's Morning Headquarters, skies full of now and head west. This morning, Biscuit Basin at Yellowstone National Park will remain closed after a terrifying hydrothermal explosion sent tours running for their lives. Hot water, mud, rock, and debris were sent flying everywhere. We spoke to a man who witnessed this wild scene unfold near Old Faithful yesterday morning around 10 a.m., and he shares with us his family's experience. I mean, I had the chills just listening to that. That had to have been absolutely terrifying because you just don't know how much more is going to blow. Is it going to be bigger? Is it going to fall on us? Really scary situation. So here's Montana and here's Wyoming. I want to zoom in to show you exactly where the park is, and it's in that northwest corner of Wyoming. And so there's the Biscuit Basin geyser, and then there's West Yellowstone. But in this vicinity, you saw the weather was beautiful, and so many people head to this area this time of year because it is one of my favorite parks on the planet to visit, Yellowstone National Park, right? I mean, there's so much to do and see. We will see beautiful weather with the exception of Saturday, otherwise gorgeous. And look at those comfortable temperatures too, Reynolds, dropping into the upper 60s, or Jordan, I should say.
Man, of all the national parks I've been to, that is yet one that I've actually
including the Midwest, and we have a midweek mess for the Midwest and Northeast. Some of these storms could pack a punch with damaging winds. We're going to time them all out for you just ahead. Reynolds.
Yeah, and here's an explosive.
To western Texas, north of Dallas, the Atlanta metro area, 285 inundated. The Carolinas, very heavy rain there on the border and up even to Virginia. So even though we do have a lot of abundant moisture, everything in red is the highest moisture content that you can get. Green is the lowest. It's still moisture, but it's on the low end. Lots of juice in the atmosphere, and the juice is going to be juicing as we head through the day, not only because we have energy in the atmosphere, but we also have a surface feature. So here's that energy that kind of lingers around, and so we stay unsettled. But that's great news for basically east of the Mississippi. Now, we don't want any more rain into Houston because we had double-digit rainfall from Beryl, but we do want it east of the Mississippi because the drought has been intensifying and it has been expanding. And there you go, the shower's right over it. Now, is this going to knock out the drought? No. Do we think it might help it a little bit? Sure, it'll help us out a little bit. But with all the rain and saturated grounds here into Louisiana and Texas from Beryl, we could see flooding there, and that actually stretches all the way up into the Carolinas. Look at those winds coming in here and lots of juice in the atmosphere, and the juice is going to be juicing as we head through the day, not only because we have energy in the atmosphere, but we also have a surface feature. So here's that energy that kind of lingers around, and so we stay unsettled. But that's great news for basically east of the Mississippi. Now, we don't want any more rain into Houston because we had double-digit rainfall from Beryl, but we do want it east of the Mississippi because the drought has been intensifying and it has been expanding. And there you go, the shower's right over it. Now, is this going to knock out the drought? No. Do we think it might help it a little bit? Sure, it'll help us out a little bit. But with all the rain and saturated grounds here into Louisiana and Texas from Beryl, we could see flooding there, and that actually stretches all the way up into the Carolinas. Look at those winds coming in here, and all of that moisture. The red indicates that dry air, big trough in the atmosphere, and we do have the cloud showers, even lightning that's firing up. And one thing you want to remember is if you get a little break in this, because it's kind of on and off through the day, when you go outside, you still have to be very careful for lightning because it can travel up to 10 miles. That's where the bolt out of the blue comes from, that the thunderstorm's so far away you can't see it. But if you hear any, rumbles, or if maybe you see a little something in the distance, you should go inside. Right now, it's the east side of Houston over along I-10, I-20. This will get even more abundant as we head into the afternoon hours, and we expect to see a lot of this, just small areas of flash flood warnings to pop up throughout the day under some of those heavier downpours for us. Georgia, we're fine right now into South Carolina, but watch what happens as you get everything to warm up and bubble up and then cool and condense as it goes northbound. There's your explosive thunderstorms, and if they sit right over one area and pour out, then you run into some big time problems like we had yesterday, and we could see that today, tomorrow, and even into our Friday. So that means more flooding chances. Again, we don't expect them to be widespread, but if it happens right over your cul-de-sac, then you're canoeing out of it, right, until everything kind of drains down. Make sure all of the drains are clear because that's what causes really a lot of the problems. But, I mean, look at this. Can't stop, won't stop all the way through the weekend, Reynolds.
Absolutely. Here at the Weather Channel,
and some of that mid-level energy as well. We've also got it here throughout the Midwest. This is a different piece of energy that's dropping in and giving us all the wind reports and hail reports that we've seen with this system. And we still have a couple more days of it to swing through the Midwest. Here's our moisture. And notice there's a lot of red. That is the moistest of moist atmosphere that you could get. And as you go down the list, green still has juice that can be squeezed out. It's just not as much. Here is our piece of energy that's swinging through. It takes through Thursday, then Friday, and over the weekend. It is absolutely beautiful. Here it is for you. That's what it looks like in real life. You can see a spin right there in the center, but it's just this huge area of disturbed weather that's coming around. You've got some wind energy there on the south side of it. And so in those areas is where we could see the possibility of thunderstorms, not a widespread severe weather outbreak, but you certainly have thunderstorms that could fire up and cause flooding. Very localized like we saw yesterday, especially in the south. But you can see it here too into the northeast. Surface, upper level energy, it's all going to give us, as well as diurnal heating, more storms firing as we head into the atmosphere and into the more storms firing in the atmosphere as we head into the afternoon. That's what I was trying to get out. Notice I'm peppering New York State and then more coming down into Pennsylvania towards the mid-Atlantic too. So you will not see a total washout. You will see some sunshine, and then you'll see the heavy storms, and they'll come back. But look at this drier air that's starting to get in for our Friday. High pressure is going to dominate as we head into our Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here, and that means air is being suppressed. You won't see those thunderstorms, but we still have got to get through them tomorrow before we get the benefits of all that beautiful weather, perfectly timed, finally for once, Jordan.
Yeah. It's going to be beautiful for so many of you this weekend.
Because we have quite the trough. You can see a little spin here and kind of the overall trough coming in. And on the south side of that, we do have some jet winds that are cutting across here into the northeast. We also have a surface feature. So there's a lot of energizing pieces in the atmosphere. Thunderstorms today, basically just kind of on the bottom of the Great Lakes. And as we go New York down to Richmond and Raleigh, showers could cause some flooding. It's possible. And they could be heavier downpours here, heavier downpours there, but it's not like it's going to be this widespread flooding event. It's going to be very localized, and you'll see on and off showers. Unfortunately, we do have the clouds that will be here as well. Lightning into central Pennsylvania as we start off the day. And as we go into the afternoon, boom, things get a little more potent, and this is when you could see some of those trees get damaged. You could see some slowdowns at the airport. But again, all this is moving for the most part, so that's a positive, and why the flooding will be on the kind of lower end because storms are just continuing to push on through. Albany will get a couple rounds of them, but if you just get something to set up and move very slowly, that's when you could run into flooding like we've been seeing in the south. But this is more of a progressive pattern, which is good. And hey, by Friday, high pressure starts to come in and it sticks around for the entire weekend. Stafford, D.C. up to Philly, Atlantic City, all these spots as we head into tomorrow with everything kind of shifting east is where we have the highest chance of seeing some of those thunderstorms. If you're headed to maybe, Ocean City, heading to the beach, still quite cool here in the water, if you ask me, with our highs pretty mild, but we will see warmer temperatures in as we come into next week. So there's your rainfall, 1 to 2 inches, again, locally heavier, but it'll be right over some of those very dry conditions. Coming up on America's Morning Headquarters, skies full of. This morning, the Biscuit Basin at the National Park will remain closed after a terrifying hydrothermal explosion sent tourists running for their lives. Hot water, mud, rock, and debris were sent flying everywhere. We spoke to a man who witnessed this wild scene unfold near Old Faithful yesterday morning around 10 a.m. He shares with us his family's experience. And thankfully, no one was injured in that, by the way. So that is good news to report. We want to give you an idea of where Yellowstone is. This is Wyoming, that's Montana, that's Idaho. You can see Utah right there. And so Yellowstone is in that northwest corner here of Wyoming, and that is where Biscuit Basin Geyser is located. Quite an explosion. If you haven't been to Yellowstone, put it on your must-do list because it is unreal. It is beautiful. It's huge. There's so much to see. You saw the nice weather, blue skies right out there. It will be nice and hot today. As we go through time, temperatures will calm down a little bit here with some thunderstorms on Saturday. It's been hot, though, into Montana, getting all the way up to the century mark in some places with that heat wave, Jordan. But there is a trough coming in that gives us some relief.
Phew, finally, right? Unfortunately, we still have
For the Midwest and the Northeast, some of these storms could pack a punch with damaging winds. We're going to time it all out for you. Coming up, Reynolds.
All right, and visitors at Yellowstone.
Drainage cloggage, storm drain cloggage. You know what I'm trying to say there, right? The drainage of storm, no, it's cloggage of storm. Anyhow, those get blocked, and that's when it causes a lot of problems. There was issues on 285 in Atlanta, obviously into Texas we just showed you, and even up into the Carolinas, where look at that real downpour of rain that we got. You're talking 5+ inches of it in a short amount of time, month's worth, half a month's worth of rainfall, and it's because the atmosphere is juicy. And so anywhere you see the red, that is on the top of our legend of moisture. There's a lot that can be squeezed out, and not only do we have a surface feature, but we have mid-level energy that's going to help squeeze it out as well. So you see all this winding eastbound, that's going to help take that, sponge, which is our atmosphere, and give it a good twist in a ring like that. You know, when you're doing dishes, you just kind of do a little squeeze like that, and then when you really get into it, you get a lot more water out. We need the rain, not into Houston, where we're well above average thanks to Beryl. We'll talk more about that. But east of the Mississippi, the drought's been expanding, it's been intensifying, and boom, we get the water right over it, 2 to 3 inches, even 3 to 5 inches, and that could cause flooding for us. Notice it's more likely here where we got all that heavy rain. Double here is juicy. And so anywhere you see the red, that is on the top of our legend of moisture. There's a lot that can be squeezed out, and not only do we have a surface feature, but we have mid-level energy that's going to help squeeze it out as well. So you see all this winding eastbound, that's going to help take that, sponge, which is our atmosphere, and give it a good twist in a ring like that. You know, when you're doing dishes, you just kind of do a little squeeze like that, and then when you really get into it, you get a lot more water out. We need the rain, not into Houston, where we're well above average thanks to Beryl. We'll talk more about that. But east of the Mississippi, the drought's been expanding, it's been intensifying, and boom, we get the water right over it, 2 to 3 inches, even 3 to 5 inches, and that could cause flooding for us. Notice it's more likely here where we got all that heavy rain, double-digit rainfall total from Beryl, but you could see localized flooding, and there was issues in neighborhoods, people were getting rescued, there was a lot going on. So we do have some of that jet energy crossing over, giving us these winds, big trough in the Midwest, and we have upper level energy, mid to upper level energy that is all going to be coming eastbound for us. And so that just enhances everything. It's one thing if you just have like a surface boundary that gives you lift, but the fact that you are getting help, this is like, a big team getting together. That's why we are going to see more of those heavy showers. Not a total washout. So you could go for a run, and then all of a sudden you see dark clouds. You're like, I got to run faster so I don't get caught in the rain coming. And then they fall on you. Pretty heavy weather into Texas and Louisiana. More spotty in nature here if you go from Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. And then we lose the diurnal heating, but it stays wet. And into our Thursday, we are going to get those clouds and the showers. So flooding is certainly a possibility from the Carolinas to Georgia, Houston to Texas, and Reynolds. It literally just doesn't stop in the south.
No, I guess you could say it's kind of like...
Got a nice little trough here in the Northeast, in the Midwest, giving us all of the weather that we've seen over the past 24 hours with hail and wind kind of scooping around the Great Lakes, even into the Northeast. And we have a couple more days of this, so hang on, because the weekend is going to be double chef's kiss. Double chef's kiss. There we go. Oh, that was a good one, Brandon. I wonder even where that came from. Mwah, you know. Anyway, moisture pulled up northbound. Huh? Oh, he's looking. So we have the moisture. I don't know if like you ate something, you're like, mwah, that was so good, you know, or who knows. Anyhow, back to the maps as Reynolds does the research for us. We see energy swinging through. This is going to help lift everything and kick it off. That's a cold pocket aloft. Cold air is going to sink. That warm, moist air is going to rise up. And there it is in real life. Isn't that so cool that we can actually see the weather? Imagine back in the day, 1900s, they couldn't see this stuff. And they still knew what was going on, which is pretty remarkable, isn't it, for the most part? Showers and storms today around the Great Lakes and down towards North Carolina. The same areas could get flooding, all very localized. It's already unsettled, and this is kind of the pregame, as Jim Cantori likes to say, before everything really gets going into the afternoon and we start to see everything bubble up and get really stormy. And these are the ones that I know they don't look too intense. These little zits here, these little dots, those are actually going to crank out some heavier rain and downpours. I see Reynolds over there with his glasses reading very feverishly. You got anything yet so far? Oh, you got it.
Got it.
What is it?
Very interesting. It was post-World War II in advertisement.
For letting us know. Now we all know. That was Reynolds. There you go. Here we go. I'm also half Italian, I must say. We do have tomorrow Philly, Wilmington, Baltimore, D.C. I take that back. I'm a quarter of Italian officially, a quarter. We do have that potential for the flooding here and lots of sunshine. My grandpa used to say, 1, 2, 3 to us. He was great. It was
awesome.
Grandpa Vic.
It's always fun, too, watching these, chefs.
Breakfast foods, because Friday is, I forgot the exact name, not Bagel Fest, some sort of bagel celebration day. Doesn't matter if bagel's in it, then I'm down, I'm in it. Bagel Fest Day. It is Bagel Fest Day. This is Cinnamon Roll Day. And there's a certain company that sells cinnamon rolls. And I used to love it back in the day because they had raisins in their cinnamon rolls. And then they took the raisins out, and I need the raisins in the cinnamon roll.
Oh, you're mad? So you don't buy them anymore?
Maybe I should just bring my own raisins and put them in when I buy them. Right?
You gotta bake.
Oh, Jen's like, fine, I'll bake raisins and then inject them. Jen's like, it's not the same, Abrams. Don't do it. All right. We do have a spinning the atmosphere. You can see it here. This is some upper level energy. Jen Carfagno, by the way, that's who I was talking about. She just walked in. She's going to do a little something with Jordan in a minute. But storms here up the I-95 corridor and back towards the Great Lakes. These will all be very localized storms. They could cause some flooding, and they could cause some trees down. You guys all right over there?
Yeah, you'll see.
Okay, all right, fine. Showers and storms, thanks to our surface feature, our upper level energy, and some of those winds that are coming in. And so some of these could be really intense as we go into the afternoon. And that's when you get the tree that can fall down, or maybe, ponding on the road, or if there's a big dip somewhere, then the water just always tends to fill up there. It clears out. I'm telling you, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are going to be absolutely delicious in the Northeast, temperature-wise and with the sunshine. Tomorrow, though, we've got to get through the storms here from Philly towards D.C. Again, we could see some flooding for us, but there it is on Friday, and this is what your forecast is going to look like through the entire weekend. Not a lot of rain, with these next systems to come, but we will get, listen, we'll take an inch or two over some of these drought areas that have gotten worse. And by the way, the drought monitor will come out tomorrow, so we'll see if we've had more expansion here in the mid-Atlantic and in the South, too, and really across the entire country. We look at the whole thing, right, guys? I mean, come on.
Yeah, of course. All right.